still remember playing Portal back when it was part of a package deal in the orange box, even though I only ever played this and Team Fortress 2. Back then, I considered this my most favorite game ever, which I mean at this point I only ever played like 2 other games, so there wasn't much competition. Now it's been nearly 15 years, and Portal remains one of the top 10 rated games on Steam, so you don't need to hear me go like, yeah, this game's pretty good. But if you want to know if this game is the one for you, then let's get right into the review. The story of Portal is that you are Shell, a woman trapped in the Aperture Science Enrichment Center to do tests with their portal gun. You're told that your goal is to complete each test chamber, and at the end you'll end up getting a party with some cake. Spoiler alert, the cake was a lie. Gasp! I sure hope that this doesn't become one of the most beaten to death jokes ever. Along the way, you are kept company by GLaDOS, an AI that the developers say they designed to convey her raw power and femininity. They want to make her look like a girl. Which, when I first see GLaDOS, being feminine is the first thing I want to see. Honestly, I forgot just how little personality GLaDOS has in this game compared to the sequel. Most of the humor in this game comes with how matter-of-fact she is, as she's mostly talking about how you're likely to get maimed or die a horrible death, and how you can't hold Aperture Science liable.
Please note that we have added a consequence for failure. Any contact with the chamber floor will result in an unsatisfactory mark on your official testing record, followed by death. Good luck.
You make your way through all the chambers only to end up with GLaDOS trying to kill you, so you go through the facility to find and defeat her. Once you begin the fight with GLaDOS by burning one of her cores, her tone shifts and she immediately becomes more seductive. Wait, that's not what I meant to say. Get out of here, stop trying to be horny. What I meant to say is that she immediately becomes a lot more like the GLaDOS I remember, snarky and sarcastic. I thought her humor and personality really shone in the boss fight, and her telling you how she's going to poison you like she did to the rest of the staff actually makes you feel like there's a time limit here since you can see the poison coming in. Well, either that or the actual timer on the wall. It's just a shame that the last level is the only real time that it feels like she has a personality. I also feel like the overall story is a little lackluster. That is, until I did a little bit more digging. You see, the game has these different areas in a couple of the levels called Ratman dens. These are little dens used by Doug Ratman, one of the only survivors of the time when GLaDOS flooded the facility with neurotoxin. These dens have all sorts of pictures and messages scrawled on the walls and really make you question who this guy is. Things get even weirder when you find that he has left messages and signs to help you defeat the turrets and escape the facility. Nowadays there's comics out that explain everything, but at the time this had people scouring the game files for clues as to who this mystery man really was. I think the story is a tiny bit lacking in the base game itself, but between the Ratman dens and the radios, which I'll talk about later on, I think this story gets 5 stars. The controls in this game are pretty basic. You can move and jump like normal, you can crouch, and you have a portal gun. The portal gun can't be used everywhere, only on some walls, floors, and ceilings. But the one interesting part about the portal gun is that you preserve momentum when using it. This opens up a lot of different movement opportunities since you can use the environment to gain momentum and then fling yourself across the map. One notable part of the controls that you might not know involves this puzzle here where you have to go through a portal on the ceiling. The developers actually state that they had to spend a lot of time trying to get this to work, knowing that Portal would have modders making levels for the game. And personally, I never had an issue with the controls. Sometimes I placed the portal wrong and ended up having to fight against where the game wanted me to turn, but that's just me being bad at the game. Since I'm basically rating the controls on if they work or not, I give the controls 5 stars. The level design is full of things you can find on each level, like the cameras you have to destroy, the hidden Ratman dens, and the radios, which again, I will talk about soon. But as a whole, I'm torn on the level design. On the one hand, the final chamber where you escape and explore the background of the facility is amazing. The contrast of the dimly lit and grimy back end perfectly juxtapose the clean and crisp design of the chambers. The puzzles here are also a lot more focused on your ability to maneuver the environment quickly rather than your ability to take your time and solve puzzles like in the previous test chambers. Speaking of the previous test chambers, each one has a sort of warning in the front that tells you what to expect when you go through the level. I think thematically this is a really cool idea. Some chambers were also developed in a way to avoid softlocks. For example, on this level if you move all the available blocks out of range and strand yourself in this room, GLaDOS will chastise you and then open the door for you, freeing you. I also found that a couple levels had a different, faster solution. Normally this level requires you to place a block on each button to progress, but here you can actually open the door by standing on one of the buttons and placing a portal on the other side of the door. At the same time, this game has so much waiting in it. At the start, you don't really have any control over the portals, so if you mistime your action, then you just have to wait for the right portal to open again. If you miss a platform, you have to wait until it slowly makes its way back to you. I personally felt like too many of the earlier puzzles were extremely easy too. I know the game wants to teach you how to play, but I feel like between these tutorial levels and GLaDOS walking you through it all, there was a bit too much handholding. Especially when you have to wait for her to stop talking at the end of a level so you can move on. You also don't get the ability to shoot 2 portals until you're through over half of the chambers. Sure, the last chamber is practically a couple levels by itself, but it still left kind of a bad taste in my mouth. I give the level design 4 stars. This is going to be a little bit of a weird section. In terms of power-ups, you get the portal gun. That's it. And there's technically no real collectibles in this game. You can get an achievement for shooting the cameras off the wall, but when the game first came out, that was pretty much it. When Valve was gearing up to release Portal 2, they added in these secret radio broadcasts that you could decode by taking the radio to a specific point in each level. Some of these broadcasts had Morse code and gave you hidden messages. Others were these audio messages that could be turned into photos by using a slow scan television program. Players later found out that this was all part of a Portal ARG, since by combining some of the photos, you would get a code that led to a BBS bulletin board system number 425-822-5251. By connecting to this with BBS software and a modem, people were able to access these photos that ended up describing Portal 2, like some dialogue from Cave Johnson, the ruined test chambers, and posters like this one for the Aerial Faithblade. So, if you are into trying to collect all these little broadcasts to hear and transcribe them for yourself, then there's definitely some fun challenges to be had here. But technically, I would give this part 1 star since there's no real collecting. The main reason I talk about graphics so late is so you can experience them for yourself. Like I said before, I love the contrast of the almost clinical looking early levels contrasted with the eventual darker depths of the facility. I love the use of colors for the portals and companion cubes. GLaDOS looks as feminine and sexy as ever. The ASCII art in the credits is cool. The hidden images are interesting. And if you aren't impressed, they recently released Portal with RTX. Now, since my PC is on its deathbed, I can only show you the trailer, but I mean, look at it. Look at it. It looks so good. I mean, people say it runs terribly, but who cares? This is the graphics section, not the performance section. 5 stars. Much like the graphics, I review the sound design later in the video so you can experience it for yourself. Throughout these reviews, as long as the YouTube gods are kind to me, I'm going to try to play some of the game songs in the background so you get a feel of what they sound like. Now, if you've ever played the original Portal game before, I want you to tell me the name of one song in the game. And I know that Still Live is a banger, but that doesn't count. Most of the songs in this game, to me, are kind of forgettable background music, and I think that's okay. Puzzle games shouldn't distract the player with their music. One part of the sound design that is memorable, however, is GLaDOS' voice actress Ellen McLean. It takes a lot of talent to be able to make your voice sound both robotic and human, so kudos to her. With all this in mind, I think the sound design deserves 4 stars. I'll be honest, the difficulty curve in this game was rather hard for me to judge. Like I said, I first played this game 15 years ago. I remember a lot of the puzzles, so I don't really remember how difficult my first time playing the game was, so this section might not be as accurate. That being said, I found this game to be easy for the most part, until you get to around chamber 13 out of 19, and in this game there is a chamber 0, so it's really chamber 14 out of 20. It feels like the game is still teaching you how to play. Chamber 13 is also when the challenge modes begin, where you try to clear a level in a certain time, step, or portal limit. I feel like this is the part where we really get to stretch our legs and experience all that Portal has to offer. But at the same time, this is already over an hour into the game, and it took me 2 hours to beat the game from start to finish, also including breaks. Sure, you can always replay the levels with these challenges to try to make it more difficult for yourself, but I feel like it doesn't make up for how easy the early levels are, so I give the difficulty curve 3 stars. There's no doubting that Portal is one of the most popular games on Steam, and for good reason. I love the lore that you can find both in and out of the game. The gameplay itself is an interesting idea that is executed very well, and I think the overall experience is a great time. If you were to ask me for a rating, then I would rate Portal 5 stars. That being said, I don't think this game is worth playing.
Move this man!
Wait. Put down the pitchforks and hear me out. In my opinion, I don't see any reason to buy Portal when for the exact same price you could buy Portal 2, which has more levels, a more fleshed out story, gameplay with more mechanics, a co-op mode, and even more secrets. And don't worry, I'll get to that one soon. Anyway, I hope to see you all next week. Peace out.